History is not always a clear or complete record. Sometimes it is a puzzle with missing pieces. This is the story of two kings, Władysław III of Poland and King Sebastian of Portugal. Wladislaw's story echoes that of King Sebastian of Portugal. Both share coincidences and mysteries. Both monarchs had tragic lives. They led their nations in battles against Muslim forces. Both met their supposed ends on foreign battlefields. Their bodies were never definitively recovered. Were these kings truly dead, or did they live on in secret? The answers reside somewhere between fact and folklore. Władysław Jagiellon was born into a legacy of power. His father, Władysław II Jagiello, was the Grand Duke of Lithuania and King of Poland. Jagiello was a giant of history. He had united two kingdoms and crushed the Teutonic Knights at the Battle of Grunwald. Władysław III inherited this mighty mantle at the tender age of 9. The young king's reign began under a regency. Powerful nobles ruled in his stead. They squabbled for power and influence. Wladislaw, though intelligent and eager to rule, was caught in the middle. As he grew older, a threat emerged from the east. The Ottoman Empire was expanding. Its armies pushed into Europe, threatening Christian kingdoms. Wladislaw, devout and courageous, saw it as his duty to stop them. This conviction would lead him down a path to destiny and perhaps to his doom. The year was 1444, a time of great turmoil and conflict in Europe. Wladislaw III, now 19, led a Christian army against the Ottomans, determined to defend his realm and faith. He was spurred on by the Pope, who saw this as a holy crusade, and by a desire for glory and honor on the battlefield. The two forces clashed at Varna, a strategically important port city on the Black Sea. The Battle of Varna was a brutal affair, marked by intense and bloody combat. Christian knights fought Ottoman janissaries with fierce determination. Arrows filled the sky, darkening the battlefield. The clash of steel echoed across the blood-soaked ground, a testament to the ferocity of the fighting. The battle raged for hours, with neither side willing to give an inch. Initially it seemed victory might favor the Christians. Their initial charge was powerful and effective. But the tide turned. Wladislaw, caught in the thick of the fighting, led a desperate charge against the Sultan, his bravery unable to turn the tide. The battlefield was a scene of utter devastation. The young king's body and armor was never found, an unusual detail considering his distinctive feat. Records mention a severed male head preserved in honey by the Turks, but it had blonde hair, while Wladislaw was a brunette. But without a body identification, doubt lingered among his followers and historians alike. Tradition holds that Wladislaw viewed his defeat at Varna as a divine warning for declaring war on false pretenses and violating a truce with the Ottoman Muslims. He spent the rest of his life as a penitent pilgrim, denying his identity. According to a Portuguese tale, Wladislaw survived the battle and then journeyed in secrecy to the Holy Land. He became a knight of St. Catherine of Mount Sinai and eventually settled on Madeira. King Afonso V of Portugal granted him lands in the Madalena do Mar district of the Madeira Islands for life. Known locally as Henrique Alemão, Henry the German, he married Senhorina Agnes, with King Afonso V acting as his best man. A painting by the master of the Adoration of Machico from the early 16th century apparently depicts him as Saint Joachim meeting Saint Anne. Details in the painting, such as a purse and dagger, suggest royal connections. He seemed content with this simple existence. A 1472 letter from a Franciscan monk to the Grand Master of the Teutonic Order claims Wladislaw III was living on Madeira. A delegation of Polish monks traveled to Madeira to question him and reportedly confirmed he was the long-lost king, though he declined their suggestion to reclaim the Polish throne. Wladislaw refused, allegedly seeing his defeat at Varna as divine punishment for breaking a truce with the Ottoman Empire. According to another controversial version, promoted by investigator Manuel da Silva Rosa, Wladislaw, as Henrique Alemão, was the biological father of Christopher Colon, aka Columbus. According to Rosa, Colon may have been the son of Wladislaw, Henrique Alemão, and Senhorina Agnes. Rosa highlights similarities between Columbus's original coat of arms and the heraldry of the House of Jagiello, to which Wladislaw belonged. Rosa argues that Columbus's noble marriage, broad education, and access to European courts suggest a background far removed from that of an illiterate Genoese peasant. This new theory by Manuel Rosa suggests Segismundo Henriques as being the real identity of Christopher Colon, wrongly known in English as Columbus, who concealed his own background, of which only the courts of Portugal and Spain were aware. Concealing his lineage, Columbus may have sought to protect his father and his family's legacy. While far-fetched to some, the theory offers substantial backing. Sebastian the Desired and the Habsburg Curse. Half a continent away, another young king was about to meet a similar fate. Sebastian of Portugal was born in 1554, heir to the First Global Empire. Nicknamed the Desired, his birth was seen as the salvation of Portugal's independence, but the reprieve would prove temporary. Both father and son suffered from ailments caused by the repeated intermarriages between the Spanish and Portuguese royal houses. It has been suggested that the king may have suffered from malformations or an illness that prevented him from consummating a marriage, which could explain why he never married. However, political and religious factors could also have been the reason. Sebastian ascended to the throne at the age of 3 following the death of his grandfather, King John III, who had witnessed the loss of all 10 of his sons. His mother left shortly after giving birth, and the two were never reunited. His own father died at just 17 years old, only 18 days before Sebastian's birth. Without parents, he was entrusted to tutors and grew up immersed in an atmosphere of religious zeal. The Portuguese Empire spanned from the Americas to Asia. However, maintaining such a vast empire incurred immense costs. During the previous reign, some Moroccan holdings that were more expensive to defend than they were worth were abandoned. King Sebastian had a different view. When a Moroccan chieftain sought his support in a dispute over the Moroccan throne, Sebastian seized the opportunity. He was determined to halt the westward expansion of the Ottoman Empire in Africa. Others speculate that he sought to fulfill a prophecy that called for the sacrifice of a Christian prince to usher in a messianic world faith, the Fifth Empire. The young king, like a knight of old, led his army into the heart of Morocco. He was walking into a trap. The Battle of the Three Kings. On August 4, 1578, the Portuguese army met a much larger Moroccan force at Alcázar Quibir. The Battle of the Three Kings, as it came to be known, was a disaster for Portugal. The Portuguese forces were vastly outnumbered and ill-prepared to fight in the scorching heat of the African summer. The intense heat made wearing armor unbearable, and logistical challenges compounded their difficulties. Despite these setbacks, the Portuguese fought fiercely against the combined Ottoman and Moroccan army led by Sultan Abd al-Malik, who also perished that day. Thousands died in the fighting, including King Sebastian, or so it was claimed. Sebastian's body was never definitively identified. The Moroccans claimed to have buried him beneath a carob tree. This claim, however, was met with skepticism and doubt. Philip II of Spain, soon to become Philip V of Portugal, had a mutilated body transported from Morocco to Lisbon in an attempt to quell the rumors that King Sebastian was still alive. However, this effort failed to convince the Portuguese people. So what became of the young king? Accounts vary. Some suggest he was taken hostage and imprisoned for life by his cousin, a claimant to the Portuguese throne in the event of Sebastian's death. Others believe he wandered the world as a pilgrim, a knight of the cross, much like King Wladislaw had before him. Rainer Daehnhardt, a Portuguese-German armory expert and investigator, conducted an in-depth study of evidence recovered from the king's last battle, including his helm. His findings indicated clear signs of betrayal by some of the king's own supposed allies. Daehnhardt and other investigators concluded that King Sebastian did not die in the battle, but those who betrayed him ensured that the truth would remain concealed. Nevertheless, several accounts exist of people who knew the king, identifying him by his distinctive physical features. This aligns with numerous contemporary accounts claiming that the king survived the battle, fueling the enduring myth of his eventual return. The myth, fueled by hope and longing, took root in the Portuguese psyche. It would become a powerful force in Portuguese culture for centuries to come. The return of the king. Sebastian became a messianic figure, assumed to have died as a martyr like his patron, Saint Sebastian, who was also thought to have died and later resurrected. He would one day return to liberate his people and restore Portugal to greatness. Sebastianism had a profound impact on Portuguese society. It fueled rebellions and uprisings against Spanish rule. It gave hope to the oppressed and a rallying cry to those who yearned for a return to a glorious past. The stories of Wladislaw III of Poland and King Sebastian of Portugal are tales of tragedy and enduring mystery. These two figures, separated by time and geography, share a common thread in the way their lives and supposed deaths have been shrouded in enigma. Both kings were young and unmarried when they allegedly died in controversial crusade battles. Both were outnumbered in battle. Both were last seen charging into enemy lines, and neither body was recovered. Both had distinct physical features, and both had doubts raised about their sexuality. Finally, in both cases, reports allude to their survival as pilgrims. These tales of lost kings challenge the accepted narratives of history, pointing to overlooked or suppressed details that suggest alternative possibilities. In the end, both seem to have lived a different life after their alleged death. The stories of Wladislaw and Sebastian remind us that history is not always a neat and tidy narrative. Instead, it is often a complex web of events, interpretations, and unanswered questions that historians and storytellers alike strive to unravel. These narratives, filled with both historical and mythical elements, enrich our understanding of the past. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share to support the channel and help us with the algorithm.